May I now invite Felix to share his thoughts as a co-host.
Excellencies, distinguished guests, dear colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, and also on my behalf, on behalf of FES, a very warm welcome to all of you. It is a genuine honor to open this conference here in Islamabad, a city that, as of this weekend, has become something of a dateline for history. We at the Friedrich Ebert Stiftung are proud to host this gathering today with the Sanober Institute, and I want to say at the outset, there are days when a conference title writes itself. Pakistan and the World Disorder is one of those titles. When we first conceived of this event a month ago, in a rather different geopolitical moment, the disorder we had in mind was real enough. A fraying multilateral system, a rules-based order under sustained assault, the return of great power rivalry to every corner of the globe, a global South increasingly unwilling to align along Cold War lines. We thought we had plenty to discuss. And then the world accelerated. Just this past weekend, Islamabad was the site of the highest level direct talks between Washington and Tehran since 1979. 21 hours of negotiations, the Vice President of the United States at the table, the Iranian parliament speaker leading Tehran's delegation. The culmination of weeks of intensive diplomacy with Pakistan's leaders pitching this city as a venue even before they formally assumed the role as a key mediator, trusted remarkably by both parties simultaneously. And while a final agreement has not yet been reached, what took place here over the last 48 hours matters enormously, not only for the fate of a ceasefire, but for what it tells us about the shape of the world we now inhabit. So yes, we come together at exactly the right moment. Let me say something about Pakistan, and I want to say it sincerely, not particularly diplomatically. Pakistan is often discussed in international forums through the lens of its challenges: economic pressures, political turbulence, security dilemmas, a difficult neighborhood. And those challenges are real, and we do not pretend otherwise. But what we have witnessed in recent weeks is something that deserves to be named clearly and without reservation: a remarkable act of diplomatic courage and strategic agency. It would be reductive to explain what Pakistan has done here purely in transactional terms. Pakistan has a history as a mediator if you look at its historical record. In 1971, it was Pakistan that facilitated the back-channel contact that led to Nixon's historic opening to China, paving the way for the eventual normalization of relations between Washington and Beijing. In 1988, Pakistan was a key interlocutor in the Geneva Accord that brought about the Soviet withdrawal from Afghanistan. More recently, Pakistan has facilitated contact between the Afghan Taliban and Washington that produced the 2020 Doha Agreement and set the stage for the withdrawal of NATO troops. And across successive governments, across military and civilian administrations, across decades of its own internal turbulence, Pakistan has returned again and again to the role of a bridge builder between parties that cannot easily speak to one another directly. In the current crisis, several countries have been active in seeking a path to de-escalation, but Pakistan has emerged as a primary mediator, in part because of its geographic proximity to Iran, its long-standing ties with the United States, its deep relationships with the Gulf states, and its close partnership with China. No other country in this particular moment has enjoyed the same quality of trust from all sides simultaneously. Pakistan, in other words, has been practicing what we might call structural mediation, not as an occasional diplomatic gesture, but as a sustained posture over decades, rooted in conscious choice to remain connected across the world's great divides. That is not easy. It requires constant calibration, it generates its own contradictions, and in a moment of acute global polarization, it is more valuable than ever. So let me say clearly, on behalf of Friedrich Ebert Stiftung, we commend Pakistan for what it has done, for the courage it has shown in stepping forward when others step back, for hosting these talks in this city, for the tireless diplomacy of the Pakistani leadership, and who have worked across the most difficult of channels to bring adversaries to the table. Whatever the outcome of the negotiations ahead, history will record that Pakistan tried and that it did so from a position of principle, not of mere expediency. But now, back to our conference. We titled this event, Pakistan and the World Disorder. I want to spend a moment in that word, disorder. We did not choose multipolar world, though that term would have been accurate. We did not choose transition or transformation, though those two are fair descriptions of the moment. We chose disorder because disorder is honest. It captures the lived experience of this juncture, is a sense that the rules, the institutions, the norms that structured international life for the better part of 8 decades are bending, cracking, or in some cases simply ceasing to function. A conflict that had put a chokehold on the Strait of Hormuz, through which roughly a fifth of the world's oil and gas supplies pass, triggering a global energy crisis with consequences for families and economies from Karachi to Cologne. A ceasefire that remains fragile and contested. A nuclear question at the center of it all. These are not abstract geopolitical concepts. They are crises with the direct human consequences affecting the most vulnerable people in every country touched by them. Our conference was conceived before the United States and Israel launched their strikes on Iran. But it comes to fruition in their wake, and that is, in a painful way, precisely right. Because the question we plan to ask have only become more urgent. Disorder is not the same as the absence of order. It is a transition, and transitions have outcomes. They are shaped by choices, by actors, by ideas. The disorder of 1918 to 1919 produced Versailles. We know how that ended. The disorder of 1945 produced Bretton Woods, the United Nations, and 70 years of imperfect but consequential multilateralism. The disorder of 1989 to 1991 produced a moment of extraordinary optimism and, in retrospect, a missed opportunity to build something more durable and genuinely inclusive. We are living through another such moment, and so the central question of this conference is not simply how severe is the disorder. The central question is this: what can the world order of tomorrow look like, and what will it take to shape it? Can we imagine a multilateralism that is genuinely multipolar, that does not merely rearrange the chairs at the table designed by others, but reconceives what the table is for? What roles can middle powers, countries like Pakistan, like Germany, and like others represented in the room, play in that reconstruction? How do we address the profound trust deficits between the global North and the global South that have made every international negotiations in recent years so much harder? And how do we ensure that the rules we build tomorrow are more durable, more legitimate, and more broadly owned than the rules that are now fraying? These are not comfortable questions. They do not have easy answers. But I think they are the right questions, and I'm genuinely glad that we have assembled a room of people who are qualified to wrestle with them seriously here today. Before I close these opening remarks, I have some people to thank, and I want to do so warmly and by name because none of this would have been possible without them. First and foremost, my deep gratitude to the Sanober Institute for the intellectual partnership in organizing this conference. I want to acknowledge in particular 2 individuals whose commitment has been indispensable to everything we have built here together. Ambassador Azaz Ahmed Chaudhry, whose decades of experience at the highest levels of Pakistani diplomacy lent this event a weight and credibility that no budget can purchase. And Dr. Kamar Chima, whose sharp analytical mind and generosity as a collaborator have shaped this program in ways visible and invisible. Thank you both sincerely and warmly, and also to the teams behind you. Within my own team at FES Pakistan, I want to give particular recognition to my colleagues Humayun, Sadia, and Faisal, and obviously also everyone else involved, for the quiet, relentless, professional, excellent work that makes events like this possible. The logistics, the outreach, the coordination, the 100 small decisions made correctly before anyone in this room has arrived, that was them. I'm proud to work alongside you. Now, I'm also delighted to welcome the Deputy Head of Mission of the German Embassy, Arno Kirchhoff, whose presence here today reflects the importance Germany attaches to these regions and to the questions we are gathered here to address. Your participation in our inaugural session honors us. I would also like to extend a special welcome to General Zubair Hayat for joining us here for the inaugural session. To all our speakers, panelists, discussants, and guests from across Pakistan, from across the region, and from across the world, thank you for being here, for taking the time, for taking the questions seriously. We begin our work at a moment of genuine historical consequence. The talks that took place in the city this weekend did not produce a final agreement, but they demonstrated something important. That dialogue is still possible, that trust can still be constructed across the deepest of divides, and there are countries willing to play a long, patient, principled diplomatic game can still shape events in a world that sometimes seems to reward only force. That is, in a way, the spirit of which Friedrich Ebert Stiftung has always understood its work, building platforms for dialogue, supporting progressive political ideas, strengthening democratic institutions in the belief that the quality of politics, the quality of conversation, and the quality of ideas ultimately shapes the quality of the world we live in. In this spirit, let us have a good conversation today, and thank you very much.